1% of the population are creators, 99% are, like lurkers. They're just watching and following along.
LinkedIn, it was probably the most boring platform ever. It was very fake because everybody was bragging, like telling stuff which was never real. But now it's changing.
I think if you've got an entire organization posting online about how much they enjoy their job and the things they do, what a marketing strategy that is.
I start to talk to everyone, and mostly I look like a total idiot who doesn't know anything, but it's going out of comfort zone. So that's what helps me to be better, and then I just realize it's so much more than the bubble I'm living in.
Businesses are all dealing with a very tough macroeconomic climate right now. High interest rates here in the States, very difficult. And so procurement has been called upon almost year after year. Let me help you get the things you need to do your job so this company can grow.
People are talking a lot about work-life balance. There's none. There's no saying to have a work-life balance. It's about more finding a harmony in the way you live.
Success, it's not money, it's not this, it's not the material things. It really is.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Entrepreneur's Diary, episode 5. Today I have a great guest, Matthew Schulz, who is a wonderful entrepreneur, founder of MatChat, and already our advisor in the US. Matt, happy that you are here. Thanks for your time.
Quite the intro. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I actually can tell way more, but I think our listeners would love to hear more from yourself. Besides having this brilliant smile and a good sounding mic.
And now like blushing face. I'm going to turn red from that. Thank you.
Besides being an expert in procurement and working in multiple great companies in the US, becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own venture.
Yeah.
What is besides this? And maybe you can start from the very beginning. What do you want to share?
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'll try my best. I think here, let me kick it back a little ways. I'm originally from the Midwest, which blue collar, very rural. I grew up quite poor, actually. And I think the older I get, hopefully the wiser I get, the more I start remembering some of those younger childhood memories, because they really started to shape who I am and what I do and how I think now. I say that because, like you said, very nice of you to say procurement expert and to hear things like founder or CEO. Those always seem like these obnoxious titles that maybe I don't deserve, or that's not who I am. But the reality is, I think looking back at some of those childhood memories really put me on the path that I think I'm on. And I take a lot of pride in that it's a very non-linear path.
But can you tell me, and also share this with our listeners, what is this moment, or how you came up to this moment when you decided to move from your regular career to becoming an entrepreneur? So that's always one of the most interesting parts in life, because for some people it's just clicks it in a second, and for the others it's like they're preparing themselves to do this soft or smooth transition. So how was it in your case?
Yeah, it's it's so new, right? I've only been at this for, what feels like a very short time, but in reality, it's probably been a longer transition. I think, guilty, I'll raise my hand. I've got an entrepreneurial itch and I want to scratch it. I think it's part of who I am, part of my DNA. And I didn't ever want to look back and regret that I didn't try. And so you're right, there's several paths that folks tend to take and how they get to where they are. Mine, and I love that you brought up LinkedIn, because we should probably talk about that. It's been very pivotal in my life, especially my career. I think I'd always wanted to be one of those individuals who had a large network or many connections. One, I love people, love giving back and sharing. But two, I didn't really know how to do it. And it's been about 18 months since I started talking out loud on LinkedIn,
Wow.
right? And sharing my thoughts and some of my ideas. And what I like about it is that if you do it in authentic way or who you really are, you really start to attract the people that think like you or interested in you. And that's great because otherwise, I feel like you'd show up to a conference, an event, maybe you'd shake some hands or you do the old school business card exchange and you'd never talk to that person again. Well, here it's like a constant daily thing, and I love it. Um, I think I think it was a great way for me to expand the things that were going on up here to the rest of the world, maybe besides just my team at a specific company I was working with. And as a result of doing that, that action in and of itself has then created different paths for me. It opened up job opportunities. It also probably opened up entrepreneurialism in a way that I didn't think was possible. And here I am. In fact, I'm trying to build a business around it, not on LinkedIn per se, but part of that, right? It's like building an intimate community around procurement practitioners that are going to be the next generation in those companies. So, yeah, it's been an interesting path, actually.
I think it would be interesting if you can share how you do LinkedIn, like starting with the strategy, then how you work on the content, how long does it take? I know you spend a lot of time because I see the engagement, I see how many people are commenting and talking. So just tell us what's the trick, few tips for beginners.
Well, I think first and foremost, the most important part is just starting. And I know that there's often fear or imposter syndrome, or I don't feel like I'm a good writer. Even worse, I have nothing to say. I probably went through all of that and still do to this day and go, gosh, I probably do have something to say because everyone's unique. They have a story.
Yeah.
I think strategy. One is start. That's a great place. And it's hard because it's in a public forum and people don't want to hit that publish button. So maybe you start by just commenting on other people's posts and get comfortable with feeling like you have a voice, you're willing and able to share information that you know. Another thing is, here's a great statistic actually. 1% of the population are creators, 99% are, like lurkers. They're just watching and following along. I find that to be so true because my direct messages, my DMs are always blowing up with people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you are following along this whole time? Or somebody that I met 10 years ago was like, oh my gosh, Matt, congratulations. I love the things that you say. That reminds me of when we worked together. And I'm like, oh, you've been following this whole time. Yeah, the strategy for me was I wanted to start. I fumbled through it like anybody else. I'm a glutton for knowledge, so I read up on good copywriting, marketing, selling. These are all things that are part of who I am and probably back to the entrepreneurialism. So I think just starting. I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible at the strategy of it because it just feels so natural and so comfortable. The reality is there's a little bit of effort in storytelling. A lot of people ask, like you did, well, how much time do you spend on there? Well, quite a bit now because it's helpful for my business. Yeah. But even before then, I was engaging quite a bit just because I was really starting to build up my network and connections for the job I was doing. I think there's a little bit of a divide for some of these companies and organizations. Some see LinkedIn and social platforms as a positive thing because the individual, the employee, who also has a personal brand, has the company brand with them or behind them or next to them. Yeah. And others think, oh, that's taking away from the real work that they should be doing. I'm of the former. I think it's helpful. I think if you've got an entire organization posting online about how much they enjoy their job and the things they do and talk about themselves, wow, what a marketing strategy that is.
I absolutely agree. I think what's going on now on the LinkedIn, it's marvelous because 2 years ago, it was probably the most boring platform ever. Like you could die for boredom, right? And now, that it was very fake. because everybody was bragging, like telling stuff which was never real, or like there was no connection. So I think a lot of people, including myself, were confused. How does this thing work? Like, what's going on? Because it's not a place for selfies or how you work out or like. But now, because of people like you and like me, I hope, like where we decided to bring content which is distributed among different platforms, shape it and update it and post it on LinkedIn. It's changing. It's getting more interesting, getting more authentic. Yeah. Sorry for saying that, but in all my life, all people I've known in procurement, at least in my region, they were also super boring. And now I realize that it shouldn't be, right? And you brought this procurement to the whole next level, not only for me, but for the whole world. So big thanks for that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I think that, a lot of people ask, well, why do you do it? What are you doing? I think a lot of people think, well, what's he going to be selling, right? What are you selling? Why are you doing this? I guess if I'm selling anything, it's just my why. I'm selling my why. My why is I want to give back to people. Like, clearly I'm pretty passionate about this. LinkedIn just seems to be a great platform for my voice and being able to share that I think there is a next generation of procurement. Businesses have gone through things like the pandemic, supply chain disruptions. They are all dealing with a very tough macroeconomic climate right now. High interest rates here in the States, very difficult. And so procurement has been called upon almost year after year, and they're trying to figure out, well, one, yes, cost savings, which is a pretty heavy metric for procurement, but also, oh my gosh, they deliver so much value. Literally, supply chain, the things I need to do business, they help do that. And that's great. And so if we can get individuals, right, back to my why, if we can get people who think differently, have a different mindset on how to do it, where they're not saying no, or like you said, stereotypically, they're policing, they're doing policies and procedures and very administrative. Now it's, well, how do I collaborate with you? Let me help you get the things you need to do your job so this company can grow. And I love the idea of being able to shift that narrative. And so that's it. That's why I'm talking out loud. That's why I'm trying to pull people together and really make a strong statement with this movement. And I think it's going well. I mean, to your point, all of that engagement, it even surprises me, not so much anymore, because I go, oh my gosh, I've met so many of these individuals. I'm starting to meet more of them in person, and I love it. Like, there's something here. Collectively, we're coming together, and I can't wait for the future.
What's there in the future? Where are you heading to?
Well, I'm hoping to launch Nat Chat in the coming weeks, which I'm hesitant to say community, but I think foundationally that's probably what resonates most with people. But it's much larger than that. It's an ecosystem, right? Think about us. We're such a great example. We met having dinner a few months ago and realized there's a great partnership here between businesses, between countries, to then help companies. And I find that fascinating. To me, that then represents much more than the community of practitioners, but now we're pulling in partners that those community members who represent businesses, buy on behalf of them, again, can help the individuals and the company grow. And to me, that's such a light bulb moment where I go, wow, procurement is so uniquely situated within an organization that they help everybody. Now, what if we get rid of the cost savings moniker, just this police nickname on saving money, and instead say they help drive growth. They help deliver value. Now we're talking. To me, fascinating, super interesting. I've had some personal success doing it at businesses, and I thought, wow, we can probably replicate this. Talking out loud on LinkedIn, turns out others are doing this, and we're all coming together.
Man, that's amazing. I think that's the right time.
I think so too.
Because you give them all the tools that you have verified. So people have trust in you, and then you onboard the solutions and partnerships and basically all the tools for growth for procurement specialists that can bring game to the whole next level. That's amazing.
It is. It's interesting because a lot of the challenges that some of these procurement professionals and practitioners have had is that they didn't get a seat at the table. They didn't get a voice with business leaders or the C-suite. And now they are because, again, back to the pandemic and macroeconomic challenges. And now they're bringing data and information that they haven't historically had because now there's modern technology. All of these venture capitalists are putting money into modern procurement technology. It's the perfect timing. And I'm seeing an opportunity to fuse both people and modern tech together. To me, that literally represents the next generation. And that's exactly what businesses are looking for. So,
wow. What would you say, what are the main challenges for the procurement? So like top three.
One, I think there's a certain narrative, right? There's a stereotype, or has been historically, and that is around cost savings. They've been buried in the back office, often underneath finance, and their job was just to save money. Along with that, antiquated technology, Excel spreadsheets, emails, shared folders, trying to manipulate and move data and information. That was just really hard to come by because they were using old technology. So there's a bit of a narrative. There's a bit of what I'd like to call marketing. It's kind of marketing and selling the function internally and also now externally, using those modern tools that we now have and are being built. And then last, just personal skill sets. I've found, speaking with literally thousands of practitioners at events or conferences or webinars or podcasts, a lot of the things I hear back are, I don't have the skill set, right? I don't have those soft skills because they were never called upon from me before. I don't know how to talk to the C-suite. I don't know how to speak with business leaders. And so I think back to Matt Chat, part of that is, how do we upskill the workforce? How do we look for the younger generation who may have those skills and bring them into procurement? A lot of analysts and firms have said that there's going to be a gap. There's enough white people with gray hair like me that are on their way out. Well, where's the next generation coming in? And I think that's important. So that'll be part of it. And oftentimes it goes all the way back to the school. Where do we get folks? Do we find them at universities? Do we show them that there's a new way of doing procurement so that stereotype goes away?
Man, I love the unique way you found to basically change the industry, because you start to build bridge between resources and industry specialists with a thought leadership. So it's not some influencer marketing, random stuff who is paid for. You are man on the side of the river who knows how it works, and you've tested all the methods. You know how you should choose, and it's not just a marketplace, right, where you just onboard a lot of companies. It's like you have checked them, so you have proof of concept, you know how it works, and you believe that it gonna help. So people trust you, and through you, they trust the brands you onboard and match at the ecosystem, right? So that's genius. I'm not very familiar with the procurement industry overall, but I did my homework. I checked. I haven't seen much stuff besides, those marketplaces, which is, marketplaces for everyone. So now you have something which is very specific, very near to procurement specialist hearts. So what's your definition of success in entrepreneurship in the life? We talked about this, and it was your words and vision was near to my heart, but I want you to share it with the world because I think they need to hear about it.
Oh my gosh, no pressure. I think success for me is probably happiness. I think I bought into this life. I probably read too many of those certain books that have made me think it's not money, it's not this, it's not the material things. It really is happiness. And I think if you are enjoying what it is you do, and if you're lucky enough to be passionate about it and do the thing you're passionate about, that's successful.
That's that's absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's it's just a feeling of calmness, right? Like you just
Yeah.
you find this equilibrium, and you are in a zone, and once you are there, you
Yeah.
understand that you have arrived.
Yeah.
You know, like lately, people are talking a lot about work-life balance, which is, from my understanding,
Yeah.
there's none. There's not just saying to have a work-life balance. It's about more finding a harmony in the way you live, which is a combo
Yeah.
of the tasks or work you do and the lifestyle you have. So,
Yeah.
and I've never seen person doing stuff what he's excited about, like you doing. You said you are spending a bit of time in content. I know you're, working crazy hours, but you look happy and excited
Yeah.
and you don't have a burnout because you're doing something that you love and you're in a harmony. Also, harmony also consists of, a lot of ups and downs and a lot of challenges,
Yeah.
but it's a journey, and you're on a beautiful journey, and you're calm, and you know where you're going to. So, what's your advice to beginners, to people who feel they're lost or don't know how to proceed?
Honestly, I think you just did a great way of describing it. I love this idea of harmony. I love this idea of infusing passion with what it is you do. I heard you say work. Sure, it's work as probably defined by the dictionary, but in reality, for me, it doesn't always feel like work. Sometimes, yes, don't get me wrong. When I'm trying to do something new or I don't get it, I get frustrated. Not everything looks like it does on social media. Not always smiling, although I tend to default to that, right? I always remind myself to put on my optimistic hat or put on that smile or laugh, because what's the alternative? Complaining, feeling mad or sad. I'd rather focus on trying to find ways to be happy, to enjoy myself. And I think there is a sense of calmness with that. It probably goes back to understanding. I've spent a lot of time over the past handful of years focusing on me, and that can sound selfish, but the reality is by doing that, I've become a better version of myself. Lifelong learner, very curious. I love that about myself. I love that in other people, finding and hanging out with my tribe or my group of people that help me become a better version of myself. And I think by doing that, I then am able to express it in a way that feels authentic, because it's literally who I am. There's a sense of relief that comes with it. I can be who I am. I can say what I want to say, and it's okay. I like this idea of harmony that you brought up. It really does feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's like you said it very well, focusing on yourself, because you can only measure the life based on yourself, not on somebody else, because mostly people measure their life based on others' achievements, life,
Yeah.
and that's total failure, and that's why they feel so miserable. When I talk to people around me who I really care about, I always say that you can find out if you're really happy is when you stay alone, mostly at night before you go to sleep. This moment before you fall asleep, if somebody worries you, and you're not happy with your life at that specific moment, and if tomorrow, which will come, bothers you, that you're doing something wrong. And then people just say that they don't know what to do, like what is exactly the next step. And yeah, that's hard to find, but you need to start somewhere. You need to try out something like number A, or then B and C and D, and just, understand better, learn more about yourself, about the world, and just find something. It took me like 27 years So
Yeah. I mean, think about that. Um, that's probably why you and I got along so well and so quickly. There was something there by being who we are and sharing those experiences, attracted to one another and go, oh, similar philosophy, similar way of thinking. And what really resonated with me is, you're essentially talking about your experience and the exposure that you've had. Again, back to this idea of like, I really love my nonlinear path because I've done so many different things that gives me a very unique view on life. Or gosh, the sense of around, back to your question, like, well, how do you get going? How do you do it? How do you start? You could probably throw out a million quotes right now. They're like, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, yeah, I mean, that's the reality. That's it. By having those different experiences, even if you don't necessarily like them, well, now you learn that you don't like it. So go do things that you do like and don't do that anymore. It seems so counterintuitive, or rather easy because it is counterintuitive, but I think that's it. And it's not some big massive unlock or secret. It's, you hear enough people say this, it's just whether or not you're actually willing to do it. And that's hard.
And that's hard.
yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, it's very hard. We get comfortable. We like our 9 to 5. We like our paychecks. We like security, comfort. It's human nature. It's difficult to go down an unknown path.
Yeah, and we came to a really interesting topic, fear, emotions, and people mostly cannot cope with them. Mostly people want to end the emotional cycle, especially the one that doesn't bring joy, and just want to stop straight away, and they just don't go out of their comfort zone or learning zone. There's nothing happening. So emotional control, emotional intelligence is quite vital in anything, especially in entrepreneurship. I think it's a core.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done shit tons of mistakes.
Yeah.
Because I never knew. I was very emotional while decision making, and I learned it through a hard way. But definitely there's some kind of emotions which helped me to, overcome myself and some challenges and just move forward. So let's give some advice to younger generation, how they can, understand the emotion, how they can control what are the right ones and what are the wrong ones, like from your experience.
I think a couple things come to mind. One, and this is, I know not everyone is going to have this experience, but it's a funny story, I suppose. Well, I hope it's funny. The military, right? Sometimes I was forced to do experiences that I did not want to do or felt extremely uncomfortable with. Okay. But by doing them, the folks that were in charge knew I would then learn so much about myself. And of course, they were right. I didn't like it at the time. Young 18, 19-year-old Matt was like, oh, I don't want to do this. However, I did learn so much about myself in those very hard circumstances. There was fear, of course, of the unknown, of the uncomfort. And the biggest takeaways there are I learned the early life lessons that I then took on later in life. And I liked your idea of going back to failure, right? I hear enough talking heads say, oh, it's all about the failures and you've got to fail fast. There's some truth there. Failure is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, especially if you're a lifelong learner and you want to learn from your mistakes. What better way than to make a bunch of them? Because then hopefully over time, you make fewer of them. And that's hopefully the goal, personal growth, if you buy into it. So yeah, I know the military story is pretty unique. Not everyone has experienced that, but you can find that in your personal life too, right? I think a lot of people talk about things like focusing on mental health or physical health, right? Do you get up? Do you go for a walk? Do you go for a run? Do you work out? Are you prioritizing those types of things.
Yeah, there are a lot of ideas how it should be done,
Yeah.
but we all should find our own way. We just need to find a direction, right?
I love that.
No, really. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of stuff which I learned, but like my current challenge is to somehow make my workouts consistent.
Yeah.
Because for me personally, workout is a struggle. So it's going into the pain, because initially when I was exposed to workouts, I was doing martial arts in childhood, and it was full of pain. So it was like challenges, all the stuff. And till now, when I think that tomorrow morning I need to get up and go and, just do any kind of activity, it's a battle for me.
Yeah.
And then I was seeking some kind of activity in my mind which would actually be in a harmonical way with all my existence. And I realized that I love walking. So now what I do is I just walk every morning, which is great. And it's like 30-40 minute walk, which is good. It helps.
Totally.
It fills me with energy. It doesn't, affect much my body shape. It doesn't give you a six-pack, but it's good for your health, right? So probably
I love that.
I want to be a model, and I want to be on some fashion magazine.
Yeah.
But
you're on GQ, right?
Exactly. But I'll be in a good mental health. So that's kind of
amazing.
Yeah, well, I still have much to learn on all this. By the way, how are you dealing with this? So,
I like that idea. Again, a couple things stood out. One, this idea of just finding what works for you. Right? You can go read a million books or a bunch of quotes or follow people on LinkedIn or the gurus, and they'll tell you what they think you should do, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm so glad that exists, and I've read lots of it and tried different things, back to the idea of experiences. And then you kind of find out just what works for you, what works for your mental health, physical health. Is that a walk? Great, go for a walk. Like, do you love to run marathons? Great, go run marathons. Cycling, swimming, do whatever works for you. But do something, because you're right. Like, the mental health benefits of that physical workout, to me, those are like my pillars.
Okay.
Foundational for me. I need to have them. I need to have physical activity. Try to eat well, right? I think those things are core for me. And the second part that I wanted to talk about, which is probably the most important, just stay consistent. Consistency literally is key. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize just how consistent I can or am, and I'm now really proud of that. Like, think about LinkedIn. That's a consistency game. Can I post every single day? Health. Can I work out every single day? Okay, great. Thanks to my family for pointing that out.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So I actually have one more question regarding how you train your brain, especially like both halves. But before that, I wanted to mention that I have a friend who was also in the U.S. military, and she told me that the old discipline she got was from the military, and it started with a single activity, making your bed every single day.
Was it a commencement speech at a university? Have you seen this?
Yes, exactly.
How cool, right? And I think that was it. He started off, some really high-ranking official in the Navy or Air Force. I forget which branch. And it said, make your bed every single day, right? This sense of accomplishment is the first thing. I'm guilty. I make my bed, right? I still do that. I don't know why I do it. It's one of those things. It's part of my routine. It's part of my consistency. It's just one less thing I have to worry about.
That's wonderful. I just realized that I don't make my bed. That's the only thing I don't do. No, really, but that's what my wife is doing. But she's taking care of me. But I do another stuff.
Of course.
But maybe I should update my my routine in the morning. who knows? It can open new doors.
Give it a try. Give it an experience. See if you like it.
Yeah, I'm not as good as she is. But
Yeah.
Matt, how do you train your brain? How do you learn new stuff? So tell me your tricks.
Oh, tricks. Well, it's funny. I used to say, actually, I probably still do say this. I'm not much for reading the news.
Okay.
Yet I'll have the news on in the background, like on the TV occasionally, but I'm not really paying attention.
Yeah.
I don't know where I heard this, but somebody said they outsource their news. And I was like, what does that even mean? And it was like, well, if the thing, the event or whatever is big enough, people will be talking about it. I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. And so of course that always happens, right? Like think of if you were hiding under a rock, you didn't watch the Olympics or realize that Snoop Dogg was like the biggest thing at the Olympics, right? It's like people talk about that. It's all over social media. And so, yeah, this train your brain. For me, it's focusing on the things that I like, whether that's reading a book or listening to a podcast or exploring it myself, right? I think back to the idea of it's one thing to read about it. It's another thing to take action and try it and learn it and do it. And I like doing both. I think for me, that keeps both the left and right brain going. One, I absorb it, understand it. Two, it's like, well, can I actually do that? I'd like to learn if I can do that. Now, I know that there's a natural inherent curiosity in me, which is helpful. Not everybody has that, or they don't prefer to do that. But for me, that's how I do it. So a few ways, I suppose.
That's great, man. I think there's one training which I do. I'm a sales guy, right? I've been doing sales all my life, and
Yeah.
sales is emotional roller coaster. And once you grow, you don't want to go down, right? Like nobody wants to do a cold calling or something like this. But I realized 3 years, if you don't practice the whole cycle, you don't know how the market works. So you need to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
And once in a while, especially when I'm outside of the country traveling, I search for the events where I don't know anyone and I don't know the industry. So let's say when I was in the US, I went to doctors meetups, real estate meetups, different communities. And I went to one scientific meetup about physics. I understand a little bit of physics, but not quantum physics. And, I start to talk to everyone. And mostly I look like a total idiot who doesn't know anything. But this feeling of, overcoming this fear, asking questions and learning, gathering new information, it helps me to look at the life and even my sales cycle and all the stuff I do from a whole new perspective and refreshes. And I just realize it's so much more than the bubble I'm living in.
I love that.
It sounds better, to be honest, and in reality, because sometimes I'm afraid. I don't want to look like a total idiot.
Yeah, of course.
But still, it's going out of comfort zone. So that's what helps me to be better and for shape my skills.
Love that. It's interesting to hear that. I feel like I was actually listening to a podcast where somebody had said they went to a conference they normally never would have been at. It was like an agricultural conference, and they're doing like technology. And it's much like you. It was like, well, I'm going to go and try and experience something entirely different. Some of the fundamentals were the same. It's a conference. There are booths. There are people there. Like that's not changing. But the things that they're talking about is, and you can pick up so much stuff from how they pitch or how they sell or what they're talking about, and then infuse that into what you're doing on your day-to-day. I love it. I love that idea. I was most recently at a marketing conference a few months back. Oh my gosh. Absolutely loved it. Have made so many great connections, expanded the network, learned so much from them, and I've now infused it into my daily activities. It's now something I do consistently. And I love it. I think it's such a great way. It speaks volumes of who you are, right? The naturally curious person, despite feeling like an idiot, or the person who doesn't know anything. But like, that's a great place to be. Go in there and learn something. You're going to walk away smarter than you were, and I'm sure they're happy to share information with you. That's back to that basic human behavior.
That's true. Yeah, when people say that you are genuinely interested, they share.
Yeah.
And I, as I mentioned, I really like what you do, how you support people, and I believe in what you are building. And
Thank you.
no, thank you for doing this, man. It's rare, and in the life, I think the most important is to find people where you have shared vision, some kind of chemistry. Maybe you don't even understand, but you feel it, and just take this journey, at least part of the journey together. And I think I'm a lucky one, because through this noise, I found you, or you found me, or we found each other.
We found each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy story in and of itself.
Yeah. Again, thanks to Max Rolliger for this, for making this happen. And man, I think that this new chapter in both of our lives, it's very important, and it excites me. I do believe that we're gonna build a lot of interesting stuff together. Thanks for your trust. I really appreciate that.
Likewise. I appreciate it. See, and to me, like, I get it. You almost want to say, I'll stop right there because we're on this together. That's it. And we've got to be comfortable with, we're just going to move forward. Okay, that's part of it.
Yeah, that's it. It's like playing game with people you like. And this game for me.
It's a lot more fun to play with people that you like, isn't that true?
That's right. Yeah, then the ones that you don't like, it's gonna be a little bit awkward.
Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. It's funny to think it's only been a handful of months, because it really does feel like we've known each other for quite some time. So I'm thankful for you and your team. I'm looking forward to the future, and I appreciate it.
Likewise, man. Likewise. So, ladies and gents, thanks for being with us. If you have any questions, please comment on our YouTube channel or on LinkedIn, and me and Matt will get back to you with the answers. This was Entrepreneur's Diary, episode 5. Thanks for being with us. This was Valerian and my great guest, Matthew Schulz. See you soon.
Thank you.